So you're thinking about moving to Kansas City. Well, hey, in this video, we are going to talk about moving to Kansas City, but not actually living in Kansas City. So we're going to talk about some of the suburbs, the good, the bad, the pros and cons. We're going to go all around the city, kind of hit all the major suburbs that are worth taking a look at if you are making your way to Kansas City. Hey, if this is your first time tuning into the channel and you want to know everything there is about living in Kansas City, Kansas or Kansas City, Missouri, then click subscribe and hit that little bell for notifications so you can be the first to know the current market here in the Kansas City area. My name is Zach Morton, my business partner Max Jones. The team and I have been helping people move in the Kansas City area for over 20 years. We absolutely love it, but you don't have to take my word for it. Check out what our clients have to say with over 600 5-star Google reviews. So whether you're moving in 3 days or 3 months, pick up the phone, give us a call, shoot us a text, drop us an email, even schedule a Zoom so we can help you strategize that smooth move into Kansas City. All right, so like I said, we are going to be diving into the map today. We're going to be looking at that, looking at where Kansas City is in relationship to some of these other subdivisions and suburbs, the good, the bad, and hopefully help you get a better idea of how Kansas City is laid out and what might be important to you so you can kind of hone your search in so when you get here, it saves you a little bit of time. So let's dive in and look at the map here. We have Kansas City, the sprawling city of Kansas City. So, all right out of the gate, we've got Kansas City. And if you've seen some of our other videos, this may be a little bit of a repeat, but I just like to point this out because I think it's really important. It helps people get around as soon as you get here. There is a Kansas City, Kansas, and there is a Kansas City, Missouri. So most people know that, but if this is your first time kind of looking into this stuff, you probably don't. We find a lot of people from Europe don't even know that there is a Missouri to this thing. I think it's just Kansas City or Kansas. So we'll have a lot of musicians too that will come and be on stage and be, hey, I love you, Kansas. And it'll be like, oh, you know, because they're in the arena that's actually in Missouri. And there's this local rivalry between Missouri and Kansas. We all think, I'm on the Missouri side, but everybody thinks they're better, but it's all in good fun. It really doesn't matter which side you live on. There is some tax things that we'll talk about, but let me go ahead and draw that line in real quick, and then we can start talking about that. So it is divided by this river in the north part of Kansas City, and then you get to state line, which is this dotted line that drops straight down, and you've got MO over here. We've got KS on this side. So that's how it all is laid out. Big chunk is over here on the Missouri side. And there's a really good sized chunk on the Kansas side too. And actually, the last 20 years, a lot of the new construction has happened over here on the Kansas side. So that out of the gate. Now, something that I do like to touch on, there is this thing called an e-tax. So if you're moving into the Kansas City area, something to, depending on your income levels, but maybe really not. You know, who wants to give 1% of their income, no matter how much it is, to anybody? So if you live in Kansas City proper, or you work in Kansas City proper, on the Missouri side that is, then you are subject to paying a 1% earnings tax. So it's called the e-tax. You can always Google that and get some more information, but basically that is a tax that the city has implemented that goes towards the police, fire protection, trash pickup, road maintenance, and all that kind of stuff around the city. And I think it's one of their major tax revenues. But I think actually during COVID, there's we're still aftermath of COVID. There's some debates going back and forth because people were working at home and not necessarily going into Kansas City to earn the income, and they've lost some revenue, so kind of a mess. But anyway, it's something you need to know if you're moving here, that 1% of your income. Now, there's a lot of these suburbs that we're going to talk about that fall outside of that. So if you're living in that, working from home, or working out of another state, we see a lot of that, whether you're coming from like Chicago, Texas, East Coast, West Coast. There's a lot of the digital nomads now that can work from anywhere, that you might end up in a suburb that's not Kansas City, ideally, and then you don't have to even worry about the e-tax, no matter what side of the state line you live on. So that's something that's kind of cool right out of the gate. So we got Kansas and Missouri. we are gonna, let me pull up this map real quick. And this kind of shows you the Kansas City, Kansas side. And then this purple, I don't know if you can see my mouse here, it'll probably go away, but this purple section all right here, that is all Kansas City on the Missouri side. And we're gonna be touching on subdivisions that aren't in that, so that's really not gonna matter once we get past that point on the taxes. So let's start, where shall we start? I think a lot of the, one of the hottest spots right now in Kansas City, and has been for years, is Overland Park, Kansas. We've got a full vlog tour on this you can check out where we're walking around. We take you through some neighborhoods, show you some houses at different price points, take you downtown. But Overland Park, there's about 220,000 people that live here. It's one of the biggest cities in the Kansas, or the biggest suburbs in the Kansas City area. Let's go ahead and zoom in on that. And it's super nice. It's great schools, great shopping. You've got anywhere from old homes with the little old downtown square, which is kind of up here on the north. Let me just outline this for you. All right, here's the, and here it is in relation to Kansas City. So we're on the southwest side. We are on the Kansas side. It touches the Kansas-Missouri border, as you can see. And it's a huge suburb, one of the bigger ones. 220,000 people. And it kind of goes from Old Town kind of up on the north end here. As we zoom in, you can see, you know, we've got the old, kind of got the old downtown. And we, during our vlog tour, if you check that out, you can, we're walking around down there looking at some of the restaurants. The Peanuts, pretty well known. There's several of those in Kansas City, some mom and pop shops, and made in Kansas City shop down there, the farmer's market, all that kind of cool stuff. As you zoom out around that, pretty gritty right in here as far as a grid, not gritty, but the grid. So you've got older homes, smaller homes that kind of pull away from the old downtown. And then as we move south through the city, you're gonna get into more shopping, bigger homes, lots of golf courses. Like I said, this is the Blue Valley School District. It's one of the highest rated school districts in the Kansas City area, and that services most of Overland Park. It'll also go into Leawood a little bit. We'll touch on that. And I think even Prairie Village, it picks up some in Prairie Village or Shawnee. Goes all the way south, and there's even, if you get down to the south here, none of this is cheap, by the way. This is one towards the more expensive side, but usually what we find is when you're shopping in the areas that have the A+ schools, you tend to pay a little bit more for the property because the property taxes kind of go on to pay for the better schools. So that kind of plays out over and over again. Really close to downtown. In fact, all these are. We're gonna be talking about Overland Park. We've got Blue Springs over here, Liberty. Pretty much every one of these suburbs is gonna be within, 15 minutes of downtown, depending on traffic, maybe 25. But for the most part, Kansas City doesn't really have a lot of traffic compared to some other cities, some other major metropolitan areas, which is really nice. Most people moving here that have come from a big city are like, they laugh when they say, oh, the traffic was bad. And they're just like, psh, yeah, right. And something I want to point out too, I think I started talking about that and I shifted gears, was really easy to get around this city. We have a 435 highway loop that is just a big loop. I think most cities probably have something like this, but this is a highway that goes all the way around the city, making it easy to get anywhere. It does get busy during rush hour. The north end of this is actually pretty light. We get down here on the south side, over in Grandview Triangle area, it gets a little busier during rush hours, but for the most part, it's a great highway system to get just about anywhere in the city. If you are working in downtown, no matter where you're coming from, some of the roads that are gonna be super busy are 35, 29 into downtown. And I believe they have shut the bridge down on 169 coming in, and it's gonna be under construction for a couple of years. So they're building a brand new bridge across that'll connect to 35 and kind of take you on through from I-29, but as with road construction and bridges, that's gonna take a little while. So in the meantime, there are lots of options. I-29 does turn into 71. 71, it's not it is a good highway to get straight south through the city, but it's a highway that's got stoplights on it. So I'm not a big fan of doing, 65 miles an hour and then red light This gets pretty backed up going both ways too during rush hour, but it is a good way out of town. And when a lot of people are going down to the Ozarks, or when a lot of people are going out of town, a lot of people have lake houses. You've probably seen the Ozarks, which actually wasn't filmed in Missouri, but right down here is Lake of the Ozarks. There's a couple other big lakes, and a lot of people travel out of town for that on the weekend. So getting out on a Thursday afternoon or Friday, kind of cruising down that road coming out of downtown, I-70 turns into 49, can get quite busy, and just something to keep in mind. And there's always on those summer weekends when everybody's going to the lake, watch out for the speed traps. Just forewarn you there. But huge lakes down here, Lake of the Ozarks. We've got Truman Lake, and then it just goes all the way down through Springfield, and there's some cool lakes around Branson and Arkansas, and all these are about 3 hours to 4 hours drive time, and you can get to just about any one of these lakes. Going south on this main drag or this highway gets you pretty quick, but getting off here, the reason it takes like 3 hours to get to the Ozarks is you get all these back roads to get there. There's really not a great straight highway shot. You can come out 50 and drop in, come down 71 and drop in, but you're still gonna have some back road action that you gotta deal with. All right, so 435 goes around. 35 is gonna be heavily trafficked coming out of Olathe to downtown. You know, we just talked about Overland Park. It's one of the bigger suburbs of the area. So there's a lot of people living there, and all these people are trying to get on 35 to shoot right downtown. So that's just something to keep in mind. But again, you know, Kansas City traffic is, depending on where you're coming from, of course, it's really not that bad. It's hardly ever completely stopped. Everything's always moving. It's just one of those things that, you know, everybody has to deal with. More and more people are working at home now, so seems to be becoming less of an issue than it was, but it's, you know, still something you got to keep in mind. And then also just to point out, while we're looking at the highway systems, I-70 cuts right through Kansas City. That goes east to west, I think coast to coast. And it's a great way to get in and out of town real quick. And then I-29 and 35 goes all the way south, and it may go all the way into Canada. So those are kind of our north and south highways, and then I-29 is a major one too that'll take you north and way out of the city. So that is our perfect little star of traffic. All right, so along with Overland Park, let me move in here. We've got Leawood. So Leawood is a pretty cool, let me type that in here so it kind of outlines it. Leawood, kind of smaller. I think this is 30,000 people, but it's some of the highest priced homes in the Kansas City area. I think the median sales price is like right around 500,000. But it's a super cool spot. Lots of golf courses here. Click on this view for a second so you can see we've got golf right here, golf over here. So you can live on golf if you want. Kansas City's full of, we've got the Iron Horse Golf Course down here. Kansas City is full of golf course communities, so that's kind of, we've got golf courses and lakes. We don't have mountains, we don't have oceans, but we do have our golf courses, our lakes, lots of walking trails, biking trails, hiking trails, all kinds of that stuff. And there is access to, if you're into acreage, if that's something that's important to you, you don't have to go far to find properties with some acreage. So Leawood's gonna have A+ schools as well. Let me pull up my, Leawood here is gonna have A+ schools as well, like I just mentioned. But it is going to be one of the most expensive areas in the Kansas City suburbs to buy. I think it's actually like 30 to 35% above the national average. And let's see, this has it 20 or 214%. Well, I don't think that's exactly right, or maybe not be reading that right, but definitely cost of living's higher there. We've got some little spots here, a spot north of the river Parkville, which we're going to touch on, and then Lake Lotawana come in at the highest, which that is a lake that you can have high-powered boats on and jet skis. They used to have a ski club out there with ramps and all that, and there's just some big, massive $1 million homes on that. So kind of a unique spot on the Missouri side, little lake community. Leawood, there is also, let's touch on what Overland Park has to offer. And really, Overland Park, Leawood, Prairie Village. They all are super nice. They're all on the Kansas side. A lot of new construction has happened towards the south end of town over the last 20 years. This is kind of where the new construction's been focused. It's just kind of slowly grown down this way, from the old town all the way down that way. So there is some urban infill, but for the most part, newer construction keeps growing away from the city. New golf courses, you can come down here in Overland Park, and there is some estate style properties with acreage, with massive houses. So you can have just about anything you want in this area. There is the town center shopping, which is really cool. There's all kinds of little shopping areas in Overland Park. It's close to downtown. There is a lot of businesses here. Lenexa has a business park here right off the highway too, but really you can't go wrong with anything in here for top-notch schools. You're gonna pay a little more for the Leawood feel, but it's pretty nice over there. And Overland Park it's really great. I can't think of too many negatives about that. There's the Deanna Rose Children's Farm here, Prairie Fire Museum. There is a botanical garden down to the south, but I wanted to touch on, we even have the mall. Jack Stack Barbecue. So yeah, if you're coming to Kansas City, you probably know that's what we're famous for, is barbecue. So there's Arthur Bryant's, there's Jack Stack's, there's Q39. I mean, the list goes on. There's all kinds of mom and pops. There's Kansas City Joe's, Oklahoma Joe's. So when you come here, get ready to try out your barbecue. I've got my favorite barbecue for like my favorite place to get brisket, my favorite place to get ribs. So it's okay to have several favorites. My favorite place to get a sloppy, messy sandwich that's just got grease and barbecue sauce dripping out of it. So, and then I've got my favorite sauces to go with each of those meals too. So that's kind of fun. So do make sure that when you're coming in to look at houses or explore neighborhoods, that you try out the barbecue. All right, so town center. During our vlog tour of Overland Park, we take a walk through town center and just kind of show you. It's just a huge shopping area. It's got all your organic grocers, it's Cheesecake Factory restaurants, shopping, all your high-end furniture stores, and that kind of rolls into Leawood as well. So Overland Park to Leawood. You're gonna Trader Joe's down here, all kinds of stuff to do, restaurants, bars, nightlife, day life, seafood, 5-star restaurants, steaks, all that kind of good stuff. Just town center, that whole area is full of it. And if you're into more of that old town feel, both Overland Park, Prairie Village, and Leawood are all gonna have those little nice niche areas with their own little downtown that's got a little bit of history. The mom and pop shops, some cool bars, some cool restaurants, some cool local shopping. Each of those places is also gonna have, parades or First Fridays or Fourth Fridays or all those little opportunities to go down there and get some local art. Or they've got street vendors out. I think they all pick different days so you can kind of get around and make sure you hit all the areas. But that's something that's really cool about that area, and that's something that I travel. Like I said, I live on the Missouri side up north, so I have to cross through the city to get down there. But that's something that I go down to check out, because we really have a good time in the summer just walking around in the shaded streets, seeing all the local vendors. And it's not just Kansas City people. I've seen people down there from Maui that are in town to sell some art. So pretty cool melting pot. Lots of good food, lots of good things to do. So I can't say enough good things about this Overland Park, Leawood, Prairie Village, Mission, and Shawnee area. Just great schools across the board. Leawood, you're gonna spend a little more to say you come from Leawood, but you can find great deals there. You can find great deals Overland Park. And like I said, in our vlog tour, we take you around Overland Park and show you some houses at different price points. You can kind of see what you can get for your square footage and your money on those. All right, Olathe. Olathe is down here, kind of the furthest away on the south side. Again, it's got great school districts, parks, recreation. All of these places sports are huge in Kansas City. Soccer's really been coming up, but baseball, soccer, girls soccer. So all these areas, you're gonna have lots of sports complex. And if you have kids like me that are in sports, you'll be traveling around and get to see all these areas anyway. So even though you don't live there, you will have opportunities to go there and compete with all the schools. And these are all, 15, 20 minutes away to the next suburb, and good friendly competition that takes you all around the city and lets you see what they've got going on to explore. But Olathe, like I said, great schools down here. Can't say it's just a little further out. I can't say that I ever go, like coming from the Northland, there's not a lot that I ever go to Olathe for unless I'm down there showing people real estate. I've got some friends that live in Olathe. I absolutely love it. You can find acreage down there. We're a little further from the city here. As you start to bump out, you can find some homes on kind of that estate style or just acreage properties. And there's a lot going on, but and you can keep going to the further you get. Gardner, Spring Hill, you're going to lose your school districts if that's what you're after. But as you get further away, there's lots of acreage opportunities down here, and Olathe just kind of butts right up to that. So great spot, great communities, a lot of newer communities. It's just a little bit further on the south end of town, but close to if you're working in Lenexa with we've got a lot of hospital systems right in here. A lot of technology companies, depending on where you're working, might take that into consideration. Olathe is also a great spot. We have done a vlog. Let's get over here to Blue Springs, Lee Summit area. So you can check out our vlog on Lee Summit, but Lee Summit, I like to think of it kind of as the land of lakes. This is on the Missouri side. So we're still south. We're just over here on the Missouri side. Draw the line in here. So we're south of the river. And when you're in Kansas City, you'll hear people saying, I'm from the Northland, or I live down south. And this is what they're talking about. This is also where addresses go from north, like northwest of Main Street. Northeast is over here, northwest is over here. And 0 is the river. So as you go up on streets, they start here at 1, and then 0 is the river going south 2, and the streets go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You get the idea as we go further south, and so on. I think a lot of towns are like that, but just something to make sure you know about. So Lee Summit. Let me outline this for you. All right, Lee Summit. So, like I mentioned, I like to think of that kind of as the land of lakes. For the Missouri side, there is a lot of new construction that's gone on down here. Some of these lakes are lakes you can live on, and there's also some public lakes, public recreation park lakes that you can't live on, but you can take your boat out on and have access to. So that's a pretty cool thing. I know I touched on Lake Lotawana earlier, some of the most expensive properties in the area, rivaling with Leawood. And a lot of those are just going to be those lakefront properties that are pushing that up. Multi-million-dollar property sitting right on the water with your boat on a lift right out back, so you can just hop down there and skiing and jet skiing and wave runnering and all that kind of fun stuff. But we've got a couple lakes. We've got Lakewood up here, which is a real nice lake. It's marinas. You can have your boat right on the water. You get the marina with the community dock, and then some other people also have some private docks here and there. But a super cool lake to live on, beautiful views, beautiful houses out there. That is a great spot. And it's at the north end of Lee Summit, which puts you closer to Kansas City. I told you I-70 was that major highway that kind of runs right through the city. So living on those lakes up north puts you right close to there. There's a lot of shopping right off I-70. We've got the sports complex with the home of the Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs is right here off I-70, and the Royal Stadium. We just won the Super Bowl, by the way, and we're down at the parade last week and enjoying that. So good times here in Kansas City at the moment. All right, so Lee Summit, great spot. A's schools again. I think they're A. We were talking on the Kansas side; those are all the A+. Lee Summit has amazing schools as well. They're probably rated just slightly under the Kansas side. But this is going to keep you, being in Lee's Summit keeps you out of the e-tax lakes. And then we have another public lake over here that borders at Longview. I've got some friends that have boats over there. It's a big wakeboard or a wakeboard lake, and now everybody's wake surfing, so you can certainly do that over there. And then down here is another one that you can live on, and then Lake Winnebago, just outside of Lee's Summit, also touches on it. But a lot of lakes in the Lee's Summit area, if big water to live in is what you're looking for, we've got it. And Lee's Summit is fairly reasonable. Let me pull up my heat map here. As you can see, Lee's Summit is in the pink, so that's going to be right at the average price point for the nation. So it's right in there, and close to downtown Kansas City, still easy to get around. The only thing I could say that's maybe bad about Lee's Summit is if you travel a lot, our airport is right up in this area. So really, about the only thing negative to living down in the South is if you do travel for work a lot. I find less and less people are doing that you are going to have to, if you're coming from Olathe, whether you go once a week or once a month, that's just something that you're going to have to take into consideration. At Lee's Summit, you're kind of on the opposite side of town too. So you're going to be coming around 435 probably and dropping in to get to the airport. But some good news about let's see if I can draw a little airplane here, about our airport. It is brand new. They just opened it. They've been working on it for a couple of years. So we got a brand new terminal, and they've got room to expand, but like state of the art. It's really cool. We got to tour it before it was open, so I've been up there, and then I'm going to be flying out soon for spring break and get to check it out and try some of the restaurants. But a lot of great Kansas City restaurants in there. So even if you're flying through, hopefully it becomes more of a hub. We are centrally located in the Midwest, right smack in the middle of the United States. So it does make it easy living in Kansas City to get to just about any place you might want to get, whether you're going to the beaches in Mexico. A lot of people go down there because it's all inclusive. You're to a beach in like 4 hours direct flight. You've got the Florida beaches, about 3 hours, and pretty much you can get anywhere in the country with 3.5, 4 hours. And being it's a brand new airport, we hope to get several more direct flights to all of these places. So excited about that. But Lee's Summit, great schools, has a great old downtown, just like all these little places. It's got a lot of nice mom and pop restaurants and fun stuff to do, sports, there's a water park, all kinds of, family friendly places. If I was raising a family and I wanted to live down south, I would be for some newer construction. Lee's Summit has a lot of options. Overland Park's going to be a little more expensive in those cities we talked about around that. And then as we move up to the north, we're going to find that this is where we kind of feel a lot of the construction's going. I think down here in the south, they've done as much as they can. Well, I guess they can always keep going further out, but it's getting a little tighter, and they're getting so further and further away from the city, and there's a lot of building opportunities up in the Northland. So we're seeing that a lot right now around Liberty, and over here in Platte County is kind of starting to take off. So a lot of, oh look, it's kind of looks like a face here. Anyway, I'm having too much fun here. So those are, let's go up into the Northland now. We did do a blog tour in Independence. This is probably one of the cheaper areas that you can live. With that comes school districts that are slightly below, well, they're still coming in at average, but below the rest of the city. But if cost of living, if schools don't really matter to you, or if they do, there's plenty of private school options. And this is a big city too. This is, I think 100,000 people live here. It's one of the bigger cities on the Missouri side. It's number 5, I believe, in Missouri. So big city. Just if schools are what you're after, then it's probably best. You can find better schools in other locations. So just something to keep in mind. But we do have a full vlog on Independence. We're walking around downtown and talking about the schools and taking you around and showing you some properties there and what you can get. You might be surprised because you can get some pretty good deals in Independence, and there is a lot of new construction going on here in the north and the east side. And then even way out here, lots of acreage opportunities and land, and you know, it doesn't really matter once you get out that far. If you're looking for land, you're probably not too worried about schools, but lots of private school options. Probably the biggest one north of the river that's exciting and getting a lot of publicity right now is Liberty. So we've got Liberty. We've also done a full vlog tour on Liberty. My business partner, Max Jones, was out there walking around. He actually lives in Liberty. So he's got a lot of good things to say about that and give you some updates. And it's not just Liberty. So if you type in Liberty, a lot of these, the city proper is on the small side, but the Liberty School District actually services a much bigger area into the Kansas City side. Well, not that big, but gets into Kansas City a little bit too. So you can have the Kansas City address. That's actually where he lives, but he's still got access to the Liberty schools, A+ schools. I know they've built a lot of new schools there recently that are super high tech, and they were kind of leading the cutting edge on technology. I forget when that happened, but there was a point when, you know, before every kid had got a computer, that they were like one of the first that were giving kids iPads and they learning all that kind of stuff. So anyway, cutting edge stuff there. They've got a great little downtown too, and a courthouse and all those things like every other little suburb. But Liberty's really growing. There's lots of golf courses. I like to, let me pull up this view too so I can show you over here to the west. We've got Shoal Creek, very nice golf course. And you can live over here. There's $1 million homes going in all over here. A lot of these properties, so really nice upper end properties. With access to the Liberty side, which there's a lot of nice restaurants going in and continuing to build all this kind of new stuff. So it's really a happening area with great school districts, and super close to the airport. So if that's something that's important to you, you're traveling a lot, yeah, you're like, hey, I want to live on the north side where a lot of the new is coming to. Kind of exciting right now. So Liberty would be something worth looking at. I live over here on the Parkville side. Let's look at that heat map real quick one more time. As you can see up here in Liberty, the price is still pretty affordable. There is some old parts of Liberty, but I would say this might not totally be accurate because some of the new construction kind of probably pushes it up there to more of the average price point. But lots of great options. Can't say enough good things about the schools at every grade level. And restaurants, things to do, close to the airport, close to highway getting out of town. You're already in the north end of town, so if you're traveling up 35 for whatever reason to go up north, you're on that side of town, and a quick shot over to the airport right here. You're like 15 minutes or 10 minutes. So a lot of us that live in the Northland, just something to point out, when you have friends traveling in to Kansas City to visit or whatever, you don't have to go sit at the airport and wait for them and try to time it perfect. You just say, hey, call me when your airplane hits the tarmac, and by the time you have your bags, because it's a very efficient airport, I'll be sitting waiting for you out front because I'm 10 to 15 minutes away. So works beautifully every time, and Liberty puts you right in to the airport, lickety split, and then right on 35 runs right through Liberty, drops you right into downtown too if you're working downtown. Something to point out for the Northland that we have that's kind of fun for the kiddies is we have a big theme park called Worlds of Fun and Oceans of Fun. It's got all your big roller coasters, and it's a pretty good sized park. I mean, I've spent a lot of summers there as a kid, and you can get a pass for, I don't know what they are now, probably $100, but then you have access to it all summer. So it's a great place. Parents will drop their kids off, and you know, it's all fenced in and pretty safe. There's a lot of security running around. And then there's an Oceans of Fun side to that same park. If you get the annual pass, you can go back and forth between both of them, and that's got all your huge water slides, your river rafting, your lazy rivers, just on a massive scale. So it's a attraction to Kansas City. So maybe if you're coming here to look at properties and you do have the family, make sure that you put this on the list because your kids will love you for it. And check out Worlds of Fun and Oceans of Fun. In fact, let me zoom in on that real quick while we're talking about it. So there we go. This is the water park, which is really good size, like wave pool right down here. Got the wave pool. I think there's like 1 million gallons of water. And then there's a lazy river running around, and all kinds of water slides and all that fun stuff. And then you can walk right through here, and you're over to, here's one of the roller coasters. We got a wooden roller coaster called the Timberwolf. We've got the Mamba that at one time had the fastest drop or something, I don't know. But it's all up there with theme parks and the rest of the world. Six Flags and, maybe not quite Disneyland, or Disney World, but they're up there. It's legit. And everybody in Kansas City, you don't have to live in the Northland, obviously. It's a draw for all Kansas City residents. Most of these suburbs that we just talked about will have their little theme water parks. So you're gonna find that almost in all of these these suburbs. But this one is gonna be about 5 times bigger than anything you're gonna find in any of the little suburbs. And then I'm gonna go here to the west. So there's Liberty. We're gonna go a little bit to the west over here, the northwest. We're gonna land in Parkville. So Parkville is Platte County, kind of runs down 69, hits the river, kind of comes up and goes way up here. And then we have like a southern Platte County. I don't know exactly where that line is. Southern Platte County, and then a northern Platte County. And these are the two school districts where you have Park Hill, and there's 2 high schools here, Park Hill and Park Hill South. And then you've got Platte County schools up on this Platte County schools up here. So both great school districts. Park Hill is a very sought after school district, as well as Liberty. They're probably right on the same level. So a lot of people look for that. North Kansas City has a school district over here, which is also great, but I would say, you can do your own research, but according to niche.com, Liberty and Park Hill School District kind of trump that. Parkville, if we go back to my heat map here, as you can see, it's one of the higher priced areas, and that is kind of like we were talking, that's Parkville proper, which is really small, but really the school district serves a much bigger area and serves the whole county. So as you get outside of Parkville proper, the reason that's probably showing up as more expensive when it's really, if you take the school district in a whole, it's there's a lot of opportunities or a lot of affordable spots there. But Parkville as a whole, we've got a lot of golf course communities. We've got some bluff properties that are down here by the river. Parkville does have a cool little downtown. It's a river town. So Parkville's right here. It's just a few streets with shops and local stuff and eateries and restaurants and pubs. There is English Landing Park, which is a really cool river walk park where you can go down here. I think there's probably a 5K trail system. There's some disc golf down here. We've got Park College. I'm drawing it like this because it's got this big tower. Let's see if it pulls up. There's a big tower on top of it. It's kind of cool on these bluffs. We got all these bluffs right here along the river. So one of these neighborhoods is the Bluffs, and just super cool. A lot of cool, unique houses, nothing cookie cutter. If you can find a house in there, they're big and amazing with beautiful views. And we've also got Riss Lake, which is a nice lake that you can live on, built in the 90s, I would say, but great houses in there. That's going to push the price up. And then we have the National Golf Course, which is also adding to living on golf. This is a newer community. There's 2 golf courses here that, when you get the pool and the clubhouse and all that good stuff. So Parkville is really packed with a lot of amenities that are really nice and really cool and really close to get to. You're still going to have your Whole Foods and shopping areas, and super close to downtown. Let me pull this out and back out a little bit. You are still just a shot right into downtown. So come down 9 Highway out of Parkville. As soon as you cross that river, you're in downtown on the Missouri side. Most of the businesses most of downtown does fall on the Missouri side, just FYI. And that's why that Kansas City e-tax we were talking about doesn't apply to Kansas, because for the most part, a lot of the big businesses and skyscrapers and all that stuff are on the Missouri side. but that's how you get there from Parkville. And like I said, schools are great in Parkville. The Northland is pretty spread out. It's not super congested. Parkville as a whole is not a very big city. We are doing a vlog on that. Should be out any day now. We've already shot the video on it, but population is pretty small, but that's one of those things you gotta keep in mind, and the school district's much bigger. And if you're a family moving into that, that's probably more important. And you can find houses right now anywhere from 250 is probably the low end in the Parkville school district. I'm sure there's stuff below that, but stuff that's nice and livable, you know, all the way up to $1 million. So it's really got a gamut of properties to choose from, and great school district close to a lot of things. That's where I live, and I like to travel, and one of my favorite things about the Northland is just being close to the airport. Being close to the airport, being close to downtown. If we want to go down there, it's a you know, a 15-minute Uber ride downtown and back if you want to go down there for a weekend fun night. And then we're just close access to the airport. It's pretty spread out up here in the Northland, and we do have our Top Golf up here. We've got our Worlds of Fun over here for the kids. There's a water park over here, water park over there. Lakes, if you like living on lakes. This side of Platte County, you've got a couple you can choose from. Wrist Lake, which we already talked about. This is a lake that you can have, you can live around the neighborhood. You can't live on the water. Yep, there's a marina there. Weatherby is a really nice lake that you can live on the water, and everybody has a dock right off the back of their house. Big houses out here. And then Lake Wacomas is like Weatherby, scaled down a little bit, so you can get a little better priced house on Lake Wacomas. It's a little bit smaller. All these are going to be low horsepower lakes, so you're not skiing, you're not jet skiing, but if you just want to go out and have a glass of wine, take a nice little boat ride in the evening, you just walk right out your back door and turn the key, and off you go putting if lakes are important to you. So we talk about it a lot. We don't have mountains out here. We don't have beaches, so lakes and golf course communities and acreage are kind of sought after things that people like to get involved with in Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri. So I think that kind of encompasses the whole city. We have the Piper School District over here with like the racetrack and more shopping. That's great as well. It's got a lot of things going for it. But the big things I think we just touched on is this Overland Park area. We've got the Liberty area, Lee Summit, and kind of the Platte County Parkville area, which actually expands all the way into Platte County. So a lot of great spots, but really, you know, I'm not trying to sell anybody on move here or move there. This is really just to give you guys some information, let you know how the city's laid out, what might be important to you, what might not be important to you, and new construction, things to do. We just want to be a guide. So whether you choose us or find somebody else, just make sure that you get a good guide when you're coming in here, so you love where you live. That's what our goal is. And in fact, if you don't love where you live in the first year, we will sell your house for free. So if you move in there, you don't love it, you're upset and you wish you would have got something else, you just let us know and we'll put that back on the market. We'll get it sold and won't charge you a listing side commission to get that done. So just something that we offer, worth touching on. So anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you found this useful. If you have any comments, please leave them below. Please give us a like. It helps other people find these. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see more videos like these and learn about some of the other subdivisions that we talk about. My name is Zach Morton. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking around to the end. See you next time.